All right, let's dive into a case that every single one of you, as future legal professionals in Uruguay, needs to know about. It's called Operation Bitcoins, and it really became this crucial stress test for our justice system when it slammed head-on into the digital age. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Look, the principles of justice, they haven't changed. But the evidence, the nature of the crimes, the procedures, all of that is now tangled up in technology. And understanding that tech, well, it's not optional anymore. It's the job. So that brings us to the central question of this whole affair. It's not a rhetorical question, not at all. Because as we're about to see, the answer to this led to some truly devastating real-world consequences. Okay, so let's meet the main character in our story, Alberto Hill. Now, this guy is a recognized cybersecurity expert. And get this, back in 2014 and 2015, he did exactly what you'd expect a professional to do. He found security flaws on a medical provider's website and responsibly reported them to our national CRT. But just a few years later, he found himself as the #1 suspect in a crime involving that very same company. Now, to really wrap our heads around the legal mess here, we first have to get a handle on the technology that the justice system just didn't. You see, the whole case really pivots on the huge difference between two kinds of cryptocurrency wallets. First up, you've got your custodial wallet. The best way to think about this is one you already know perfectly. It's like a bank. Some third party is holding onto your assets. They're the custodian. That means they're on the hook for security, and they're the ones you call if you need to, say, reset your password. Simple enough, right? But then you have the self-custody wallet. And this is a completely different animal. Here, you are the bank. You and you alone control the private keys that access your funds. There's no 1-800 number, no customer service. If you lose your secret seed phrase, poof, the assets are gone forever. And these differences, they have absolutely massive legal implications. Questions about who owns what, who's liable for loss, how you recover assets. It all changes completely depending on which type of wallet you're dealing with. And it was this critical distinction that the investigators in Hill's case just fundamentally misunderstood. And that misunderstanding of the technology wasn't just some academic mistake. It led directly to a catastrophic breakdown in the chain of custody for the digital evidence, with consequences that could never be undone. Just look at this timeline. It really maps out the whole disaster. In September 2017, the police seized two absolutely critical devices: a phone Hill used for two-factor authentication for his custodial account, and a hardware wallet for his self-custody funds. Almost immediately, the evidence gets contaminated, which sets off a chain reaction leading to two separate, but equally devastating financial losses. The first loss was easy to quantify. Over $100,000. Just gone. And why? Because police had the phone he needed to get into his account on an exchange called WexNZ. While he's locked up, completely unable to manage his funds, the entire exchange goes under. It was a direct financial consequence of that seizure. Totally preventable. But the assets in the self-custody wallet were lost in a completely different and arguably worse way. When the police finally returned the hardware wallet, it was wiped clean. Now, the most likely scenario here isn't that they stole the crypto. It's that they tried to guess the PIN too many times, which triggered the device's security feature to erase itself. The assets weren't stolen. They were effectively destroyed, made permanently inaccessible because of mishandling. I mean, just look at this contrast. It tells you everything you need to know. On the left, you've got the tech, a Ledger Nano S. It's a precise, delicate piece of hardware. And on the right, that's the reality of how it was seized. Just thrown in a disorganized pile. No Faraday bags, no proper protocols, just a complete and profound lack of understanding. And if all that wasn't enough, the very foundation of the prosecution's entire case was invalid from the start. You see, their primary evidence wasn't some verified digital file, it was just printed out server logs. This is a direct violation of Uruguayan law, specifically Law 18.600, which clearly lays out the standards for digital documents, including the need for electronic signatures. So this catastrophic mishandling of technology, it wasn't just a simple procedural error. It snowballed into something much worse. What Hill alleges were severe violations of his due process and fundamental human rights. So here's the sequence of events that he alleges led to his confession. First, he's interrogated, no lawyer in sight. Then, he claims the police started threatening his family. And this is critical. They denied him his vital medication for 48 hours. Under all that immense pressure, he gave a confession that he still maintains was completely false, something he only did to protect his family. And the battle wasn't just taking place in the courtroom. A trial by media was already in full swing, long before any conviction. Police press releases were fueling a narrative that painted him as guilty, completely destroying his reputation and undermining that core legal principle we all hold dear, the presumption of innocence. So what's the big takeaway for you as the next generation of lawyers? The Alberto Hill case isn't just one man's story. It's a huge, flashing red light, a stark warning about the systemic weaknesses in our justice system that absolutely demand urgent, modern solutions. This case basically hands us a blueprint for reform. Specialized technical training for police and judges, that can't be optional anymore. We need strict, standardized rules for handling digital evidence. We need access to independent experts who actually know what they're looking at. And we need to constantly review our laws to make sure they're not obsolete. So I'm going to leave you all with this question, because this isn't just some abstract case study. The responsibility to bridge this dangerous gap between law and technology, that's going to fall on your shoulders very soon. So how are you going to prepare for it?